He had ruled the stars for 10,000 years. The Iridian conclave crushed empires with a whisper. Civilizations knelt before their might. But there was one planet their ancient laws forbade them to touch: Earth. A red warning on every star map. A single command: do not engage. They should have listened. Now, as the last screams of their fleets vanish into the cold void, they understand why. Earth was never prey. Earth was the predator waiting for the hunt to begin. They had ruled the stars for 10,000 years. The Iridian conclave crushed empires with a whisper. Civilizations knelt before their might. But there was one world they never touched. A blood-red marker on every star map. Earth. The forbidden planet. The elders had spoken only once: do not engage. That was enough, until now. Supreme Executor Valar Marn stood at the observation deck aboard the Iridian dreadnought Austere Dominion. The planet hung below like a black pearl. Silent. Defiant. He sneered. We found the source. The anomaly originated here. His second-in-command, Chancellor Jorvek, whispered. Executor, the elders forbade it. Marn waved a clawed hand, dismissing the warning. The elders are dust. We are the new order. And Earth has broken our decree. 20 hours earlier, an Iridian colony on Zarian IV had ceased to exist. Not destroyed. Obliterated. Erased from space-time. No wreckage. No survivors. Sensors showed only a single intruder. Terran warship designation: the Revenant. Human origin. Impossible. Bring me the Terran, Marn growled. On the bridge of the Revenant, General K. O'Rourke Maddox watched the armada arrive. 1,200 Iridian ships blocked out the stars. His cybernetic neural interface fed him data in real time. Armor layers. Hull displacements. Weapon configurations. The same cold assessment he always made before the slaughter. Nyla Voss, his chief tactical officer, swallowed hard as the scanner glowed blood-red. That's their Grand Armada. Rourke's steel-blue eyes narrowed. His voice was calm. They came to knock. Nyla's voice cracked. They outnumber us 1,000 to 1. Rourke smirked, folding his arms behind his back. Then let's not disappoint them. The Iridian fleet formed attack pattern Orion, a wall of force designed to crush civilizations. Jorvek transmitted the ultimatum. Terran vessel. Stand down. Surrender your crew and prepare for dismantling. Rourke nodded once to Nyla. Transmit this. His voice echoed like a cold blade. You are not surrounding Earth. You are inside our kill zone. Silence. Then space itself screamed. The Revenant's hull shimmered. From nothingness, dozens of smaller Terran Phantom frigates blinked into existence, phasing through dimensions. No shields. No visible engines. They simply were, and then they weren't. The Iridians had no time to react. The first 10 capital ships imploded without impact. Iridian sensor arrays malfunctioned, unable to lock onto any Terran signature. As Marn watched, entire wings of his fleet vanished from existence, as if the stars themselves consumed them. What is this? Marn roared. What sorcery? Jorvek stumbled back, scales paling. It's impossible. On the Revenant, Nyla whispered, breathless. Ares protocol engaged. Kill probability, 96%. Rourke flexed his gloved hand. Not enough. Push for 100. The Iridians broke formation, a fatal mistake. The Phantom frigates emerged from nowhere, hovering inside Iridian hangars, before detonating with anti-reality cores. Whole decks folded into non-space. Crew members screamed as they were vaporized mid-breath. The Iridian flagship Austere Dominion fired a full antimatter barrage. The blast struck empty coordinates. Nothing. Jorvek collapsed against the console. We cannot track them. Marn's voice was low, shaking with rage. Keep firing. Destroy everything. On the Revenant, Rourke watched coldly as the battle unfolded like a predator dissecting prey. He whispered to himself. They expected a planet. They got a nightmare engineered for galactic extinction. The Iridian rearguard attempted to retreat. Their engines flickered, then ruptured. The Revenant had infected their systems with quantum ghost viruses. Their ships spun helplessly into dark space. Nyla stared at the tactical display. They're breaking. They're actually breaking. Rourke gave the faintest nod. As they should. In a final desperate act, Marn transmitted a direct link. The holographic image of the Executor flared onto the Revenant's bridge. His alien visage was twisted with fury and disbelief. Human! Surrender! You cannot win! Rourke stepped forward, the flickering light catching the scar that ran across his jawline like a black brand. Can't win? Executor, this was over before it began. You just never knew the rules of the game. You have declared war on the Conclave. We will erase you. Rourke chuckled darkly. You erase yourselves the second you cross Sol's boundary. The connection severed. From the Iridian command ship, Marn stared at the collapsing fleet in frozen disbelief. Entire divisions gone. The nightmare unfolded in real time. Their perfect order, decimated. Marn whispered. The elders warned us. Jorvik, barely able to speak, nodded. Do not engage Earth. Marn's claws dug into the console. It was too late. Rourke stood motionless on the bridge of the Revenant, watching the glowing wreckage drift silently against the cold backdrop of Earth. No triumph, no mercy. Only the completion of necessity. His voice, barely above a whisper, cut through the tension like a blade. We were prey once. We learned. We adapted. We escalated. The tactical AI spoke calmly. Enemy fleet destruction at 82%. Survivors attempting random hyperspace jumps. Rourke's eyes narrowed. No survivors. Outside the viewport, new Terran ships decloaked. Bigger. Deadlier. The second wave had arrived. The hunt would continue. The cold vacuum of space rippled unnaturally. The Iridian Grand Armada, reduced and staggering, tightened into defensive formations. The once mighty formation now resembled prey caught in a collapsing net. On board the Revenant, Rourke Maddox stood unmoving as his neural interface absorbed millions of data points per second. Nyla Voss clenched the edge of the tactical console, voice tense. They've clustered at Vector Gamma 4. They're digging in. They always do before the slaughter, Rourke replied flatly. His voice was cold iron wrapped in silk. He tapped once on the holo display. Deploy the next wave. The command traveled at light speed. Across the darkness, Terran Spectre-class Reapers emerged like predators from mist. No engines flared. No warnings sounded. They simply were. And then they were inside the formation. The first Iridian dreadnought cracked in half as if squeezed by invisible titanic hands. Another's bridge erupted into cascading dimensional fractures, the crew screaming before being pulled into non-existence. On the Iridian command deck, Vaylor Marn watched in paralyzed horror. How do we fight what we cannot see? Jorvik stared at the monitors, his voice hollow. Our scanners show no mass. No energy output. It's as if the ships themselves are concepts, ideas, not matter. Marn turned to the communications officer. Signal all remaining vessels. Initiate antiphasic scatter protocols. Spread out. Break contact. The Iridian fleet scattered, attempting to escape the invisible wolves. Marn's order had sealed their fate. Rourke's mouth curled into a dark smile. Classic mistake. Now they're isolated. The Ares protocol activated. Each Spectre Reaper locked onto a lone target. Micro-singularities bloomed like silent black flowers, each one erasing an Iridian capital ship entirely from reality. No explosion. No debris. Just perfect, merciless absence. On board the Revenant, Nyla shook her head slowly. We're at 58% elimination. They're finished. They don't know it yet, Rourke answered. He leaned closer to the display. Bring up Executor Marn's flagship. The austere Dominion still floated defiantly, surrounded by the last intact cluster of Iridian warships. The battered remnants of a once invincible fleet. Marn's image appeared unbidden as the Terran transmission forced itself onto every surviving Iridian vessel. Marn's alien face twisted with rage and desperation. Human! Cease this madness! You've proven your strength. Name your terms. Rourke stepped into view. His expression remained carved from stone. Terms? His voice turned mocking. You came to extinguish us. You brought your entire armada across the forbidden line. Marn hissed. We had no choice. You destroyed Zarian 4. Rourke tilted his head slightly. Correct. Your breeding world manufactured biohorrors intended for Sol system deployment. We answered. Now we are answering you. Marn slammed a fist onto his console. The conclave is eternal. You cannot erase us. Rourke chuckled darkly. You misunderstand. We are not at war with you. We are erasing you from the galactic equation. Without warning, the Revenant deployed its most terrifying weapon. The Eclipse Array. Dozens of Iridian ships simply ceased to register on any sensor grid. Optical feeds, gravimetric scans, energy signatures, all blank. They no longer existed to the laws of physics. Nyla whispered, watching the impossible unfold. They're gone. Rourke's voice dropped into low amusement. They've been forgotten. On board Austere Dominion, panic spread. Crew fled in all directions. Some clawed at bulkheads, begging to escape. Others fell silent, staring blankly as their minds fractured under the incomprehensible terror. Jorvik stumbled toward Marn. We can't win. Marn shoved him aside. Prepare the Omega Null device. The command froze the bridge. Jorvik's scaled skin paled further. You cannot! It's forbidden by the Elders. It will erase everything within 2 light years, including us. Marn bared his fangs. Then we shall take the humans with us into oblivion. On the Revenant, the AI registered the surge of exotic particles. Nyla's voice was urgent. Sir, they've activated something catastrophic. It's the Omega Null device. Rourke's eyes narrowed as calculations streamed across his vision. Timeline? Detonation in 2 minutes. We have no known countermeasure. Rourke's heart rate did not rise. There's always a countermeasure. He pressed his palm into the neural interface. Override safe protocols. Activate Warden-Kin Contingency 9. The ship's AI hesitated for the briefest fraction of a second. Then the command initiated. Planet Earth responded. Space itself distorted. The clouds above Earth began to swirl unnaturally, radiating spectral light and gravitational anomalies. From orbit, the surface of Earth shifted. Invisible grids and layered constructs long hidden beneath continents activated for the first time in millennia. The planetary defense system known only as the Bastion of Sol came online. The Omega Null pulse fired. Reality began to unravel toward Earth. Rourke stared calmly as Nyla whispered in horror. It's going to consume us. The AI's final report came. Engaging absolute counterwave. A single beam of white-gold energy burst from the North American continent, colliding head-on with the spreading Omega Null wave. Both forces stalled mid-space. Every monitor showed readings in the impossible range. Rourke folded his arms. They tried to delete us. He nodded grimly. Now we delete them. The absolute counterwave inverted the Omega energy. Like a tidal wave reversing course, it flowed backward toward the Iridian fleet. On board Austere Dominion, Marn shrieked as his instruments screamed warnings. What have they done? The wave crashed into the remaining Iridian ships. They imploded soundlessly. Light bent. Matter fractured. Where proud vessels had stood, there was only perfect, horrifying emptiness. Rourke exhaled softly. Status? Nyla stared in disbelief. 94% enemy eradication. Executor Marn's ship remains, barely. Rourke smiled grimly. Time to pay him a visit. The wreckage of 1,000 warships drifted like cosmic dust, silent memorials to a fallen empire. Alone and crippled, Austere Dominion spun slowly in the aftermath. Its hull scorched, its weapons useless, its engines dead. Inside, Supreme Executor Valer Marn sat slumped on his throne, the once majestic bridge a graveyard of shattered consoles and dead crew. His scales dulled to ash-gray, eyes hollow. Jorvik lay motionless beside him, a dark pool beneath his body. Marn stared at the empty void, trembling. His voice barely rose above a whisper. "The elders warned us." A harsh chime cut through the gloom. The last functioning screen flickered to life. A human figure emerged, standing tall against a backdrop of cold steel and shadow. General Cale Rourke Maddox. Alive, unscathed, expression hard as obsidian. Marn's claws clenched. What more do you want from me?" Rourke's voice was calm, almost conversational. "I want nothing. You crossed the line. The consequences were yours to claim." Marn hissed weakly. "We underestimated you. You misunderstood us," Rourke corrected. "We never sought war. We sought survival. You forced us to remember what we are." Marn snarled bitterly. "Monsters." Rourke's cold smile was faint but unmistakable. "Predators who became architects of extinction. There's a difference." Marn rose unsteadily, dragging himself upright. "You think you've won? You have no idea what awaits you beyond our borders." Rourke's expression remained unreadable. "Then let them come. We will bury them too." A sharp alert flashed across the Revenant's neural interface. Nyla's voice crackled. "Sir, we've locked Executor Marn's ship. Awaiting final command." Rourke nodded once. "Prepare the boarding pod." A sleek, armored pod launched silently from the Revenant, streaking toward austere Dominion. It sliced through the dead ship's fractured hull, sealing to the inner bulkhead with surgical precision. A single figure stepped through the breach. Cale Rourke, clad in matte black combat armor, the crimson insignia of the Warden kin emblazoned across his chest. His steps echoed in the hollow corridors. Automated defense turrets activated, targeting him. Rourke raised a single hand. The turrets sparked violently and fell silent, overridden by the Ares protocol. He walked through the devastation without hesitation, boots crunching on twisted metal and scorched Iridian remains. The final blast door stood sealed before him. His voice was low. "Open." The door obeyed. Rourke stepped onto the ruined bridge. Marn staggered backward at the sight of him in the flesh. "Impossible." Rourke's voice cut like sharpened steel. "You should have stayed behind your warning line." Marn's eyes burned with fading defiance. "If I'm to die, then I will do it on my feet." "You won't have that luxury." Marn lunged with a sudden burst of desperate strength, claws sweeping toward Rourke's throat. Rourke barely shifted. The strike met the reactive shield woven into his combat suit. Marn recoiled in pain as crackling energy arced across his arm. Rourke's gauntlet hand snapped forward, seizing Marn by the throat and lifting him effortlessly off the deck. The Executor gasped, kicking uselessly as the crushing grip tightened. "You brought genocide to our doorstep," Rourke said coldly. "You declared yourselves gods." Marn wheezed. "We were gods. You were tyrants playing at divinity," Rourke growled. "Earth kneels to no throne. We do not forget. We do not forgive." Marn's eyes widened in dawning horror. "You were never prey." Rourke's tone dropped to a deadly whisper. "We were prey. Then you taught us how to hunt." With effortless motion, Rourke hurled the Executor across the ruined bridge. Marn crashed into the broken console with a wet crack, crumpling in agony. Rourke walked slowly toward him, unhurried, as Marn struggled to rise. "The galaxy called us savages," Rourke continued. "You erased entire civilizations for less. Now the apex predator stands before you." Marn coughed violently, blood flecking his ruined jaw. "You'll burn for this. They will come." Rourke knelt beside him. "Let them. We're ready." The Iridians stared up into the human's unyielding eyes, fear overtaking hate for the first time. "What happens now?" Rourke stood. "You send a message." A faint alarm triggered deep within austere Dominion's core. Rourke tapped his neural interface once. The countdown sequence began. The human stepped back through the breach as the pod retracted and sealed. Marn's voice echoed weakly into the calm channel. You're condemning me, Rourke replied flatly. No. You condemned yourself. The pod streaked away as austere Dominion's hull began to glow ominously. The last flagship of the Iridian Grand Armada collapsed inward, folding into a single point of burning white energy before vanishing entirely from space. On board the Revenant, Nyla exhaled slowly. Executor Marn erased. Rourke stared out into the wreck-strewn void. The Conclave will know. The galaxy will know. Nyla's voice was cautious. What if they strike back? Rourke's cold grin returned. Then they've forgotten the most important lesson of all. What's that? Rourke gazed into the stars, voice low and resolute. You don't engage Earth. The comm channels fell to silence. The void where the Iridian fleet had once claimed supremacy was now littered with debris and echoes of annihilation. On board the Revenant, the tactical display recalibrated. One symbol remained, a single warship trembling on the edge of collapse. Nyla's voice was sharp. Last Iridian cruiser. They're hailing us. Rourke said nothing. The image flared to life before him. A young Iridian officer appeared, his voice quivering. This is the Veritas Ascendant. We surrender. Please. We request terms. Rourke stared, his voice as cold as deep space. There are no terms. The officer paled, tentacles curling involuntarily. We were following orders. We did not fire on Earth. You crossed the line. That was your crime. Rourke's tone dropped further, the weight of final judgment. Your species declared Earth an enemy. Your fate was sealed. The officer's eyes widened in panic. Please, we beg for mercy. Nyla glanced at Rourke. Sir? Rourke's expression did not waver. Transmit the verdict. The Ares protocol engaged. The Revenant released a single black filament of energy, thin as a needle, silent as death. The Veritas Ascendant flickered out of existence without an explosion, without debris. Only emptiness remained. Nyla's voice cracked slightly. Last hostile erased. Rourke exhaled slowly, staring at the blank tactical grid. Initiate recall sequence. All across the system, Terran warships disengaged. The Spectre-class Reapers faded back into phase space. The Phantom frigates folded into dimensional subspace. Silence reclaimed the void. Rourke tapped his neural interface. Prepare full spectrum broadcast to the Conclave homeworld. The command deck hushed. The galaxy was about to listen. Aboard the capital world of the Iridian Conclave, trillions of citizens stared upward as the skies turned red. Every screen, every holopanel, every comm array was seized. The image that appeared was unmistakable. A human. General K.O. Rourke Maddox. Cold. Unyielding. The harbinger of their doom. His words rolled like thunder across 1,000 worlds. I am General K.O. Rourke Maddox of the Terran Warden Kin. The Grand Armada of the Iridian Conclave crossed into soul space. They violated the Elder's decree. They sought the extinction of my species. A pause, heavy and deliberate. They were erased. Gasps and screams echoed in every chamber of power. Rourke's voice continued, steady and brutal. Earth has endured millennia of predation, arrogance, and genocide at the hands of empires like yours. We were prey. We evolved. We adapted. We escalated. We did what no one expected. The final words struck like blades. We became the predators. The transmission cut. The stars seemed colder than ever. On board the Revenant, Nyla watched the comm logs flood with panic from Iridian-controlled worlds. Sir, their homeworld is scrambling. Planetary shields raised. Civilian evacuation orders issued. They think we're coming. Rourke nodded once. They're right. Nyla stared. You mean to invade? Rourke's voice was low, sharp as broken glass. We gave them one warning. They ignored it. The bridge alarms triggered. The sensors detected mass readings, impossibly large. The Revenant's AI whispered. Multiple Terran dreadnoughts decloaking at perimeter. In perfect formation, the second wave of humanity's arsenal emerged. Titan-class leviathans, each the size of moons, weapons systems glowing faintly in preparation. Oblivion frigates, designed for planetary disassembly, lined up in silent rows. At the center stood the colossal Aegis of Terra, the flagship of the Warden Kin Armada. Its arrival darkened the distant stars behind it. The message was unmistakable. Nyla's voice broke into reverent awe. "I've never seen the full fleet deployed." Rourke's words were ice. "No one has. Until now." The internal calms flared. Admiral Severin's voice, deep and cold, filled the bridge. "General. Fleet at standby. Orders?" Rourke stared unblinking at the tactical map showing the Iridian homeworld spinning alone in the black. "Status of Sol system? Defenses remain active. The bastion holds. No threats detected. Then begin Phase 1. Advance. Target their orbital defenses. Disable their relay grids." Severin acknowledged with grim enthusiasm. "As the architect commands." The Warden Kin Armada moved as a single living organism. Dreadnoughts slipped through folds in space, vanishing and reappearing around the Iridian homeworld. Energy lances struck from impossible angles, slicing orbital defense rings into drifting slag. Relay satellites winked out one by one, severing planetary comms, isolating the planet entirely. The Iridian Council gathered in their panic-choked chamber. The First Elder trembled as the reports came. "Their weapons bypass shields. They strike through folded space. They ignore our physics." A junior counselor whispered, horror etched into every syllable. "We are undone." The First Elder stared at the projection of Earth's fleet surrounding them. "We mocked them. We caged them. Now the wolves have come for the masters." On board the Revenant, Rourke watched dispassionately as the operation progressed flawlessly. "Status? Outer defenses neutralized. Planetary shield grid at 15% and failing." Nyla hesitated. "If we breach their atmosphere, there will be no going back." Rourke's voice was colder than the vacuum around them. "They sealed that fate when they crossed our line." The AI spoke one last time. "Awaiting final authorization for planetary lockdown." Rourke stared at the lonely world, once the center of galactic arrogance. His voice was soft, devoid of emotion. "Execute." The skies above the Iridian homeworld darkened as the Terran Warden Kin Armada descended. The massive leviathans shifted through dimensional folds, surrounding the planet like ancient sentinels called to pass judgment. Inside the conclave chambers, panic reigned. Counselors shouted over each other, demanding escape, surrender, retaliation. The First Elder sat frozen, watching the inevitable unfold. On board the Revenant, the countdown began. Planetary lockdown initiated. Space around the planet shimmered as a Terran null-field dome spread from ship to ship, sealing the world inside a prison of pure gravity distortion. "No ships in. No ships out." The AI confirmed. "Containment complete. Target isolated." Nyla spoke softly. "We've cut them off. They have nowhere to run." Rourke's voice was devoid of emotion. "Begin orbital suppression." The first wave hit. Disruption beams crippled surface defense cannons. Targeted kinetic rods pierced deep into military command bunkers. Plasma disruptors traced lines of fire across every launch facility. Entire city grids blinked off as power plants imploded under pinpoint strikes. It was not extermination. It was paralysis. Earth did not need to annihilate the population. They only needed to show they could. The Iridian leaders stared at the devastation unfolding before them, helpless. The First Elder's voice broke into the tense silence. "Open a channel." The desperate signal reached the Revenant. Rourke stood motionless as the trembling hologram of the Elder appeared. The voice was hoarse, defeated. "General Maddox, we yield." Rourke said nothing. The Elder continued. "You have crushed our fleets. Our defenses are ash. Our homeworld lies in your grasp. What are your demands?" For a moment, the bridge remained silent. Then Rourke spoke. "You believed yourselves untouchable. You called yourselves arbiters of civilization. You enslaved, consumed, erased. You taught others only fear. The elder bowed his head. We were wrong. Rourke's eyes narrowed. You mistook mercy for weakness. We showed restraint for centuries. We waited. But the moment you broke the decree, you forced evolution. The elder's voice cracked. What will you do? Rourke's tone was ice. You will disband the conclave. You will release every subjugated species under your control. You will dismantle your war fleets. And you will broadcast to the galaxy what happens when you cross Sol. The elder swallowed hard. And if we refuse? Rourke's gaze was cold steel. Refusal means eradication. The elder trembled. You would destroy an entire species? Rourke's voice lowered to a growl. You would have done worse to us. The difference is we gave you a choice. The first elder's shoulders sagged. We accept. On board the Revenant, the transmission ended. Nyla exhaled slowly. It's done. Not yet, Rourke answered. Send the final message. Across every known world, in every system under Iridian rule, a single symbol burned into the skies, the Wardenkin crest. A simple, brutal message followed: do not engage Earth. The footage of the fallen Conclave Armada played on loop, every obliterated warship, every failed assault. The subjugated races watched in stunned silence as the tyrants who had once crushed them now knelt in ruin. On the bridge, the AI confirmed. All fleets reporting. Full operational control achieved. No hostile threats remain. Nyla turned to Rourke. You've won. Rourke didn't smile. This was never about winning. It was about ending the cycle. Admiral Severin's voice crackled through the calm. General, orbital platforms secured. Ground forces requesting stand-down orders. Rourke responded instantly. Tell them to hold position. No further aggression. The message has been delivered. He stared through the viewport at the broken planet below. We are not conquerors. The AI spoke one final report. Incoming transmissions from independent systems. Declaration of alliance requests increasing exponentially. Nyla looked stunned. They're choosing us. Rourke shook his head slightly. They're choosing survival. For the first time, the galaxy understands. A long silence fell over the command deck. Then Nyla asked quietly, What now? Rourke's reply was soft but carried the weight of an unshakable truth. Now we return to Sol. The wolf does not linger after the kill. The fleet began to withdraw. Leviathans and Oblivion frigates vanished into dimensional folds. The Revenant turned toward the cold distance where home awaited. As the last Terran ship departed, the null field collapsed. The Iridian homeworld was left scarred but alive, a monument to what happens when hubris collides with survival instinct. As the Revenant accelerated past light itself, Nyla stared out at the dying embers of war. They'll tell stories about this for generations. Rourke's voice was final, absolute. Good. Let them remember. Let them fear. The AI offered one final analysis. Probability of future hostile engagement against Sol, statistically negligible. Rourke gave a single nod. As it should be. The stars stretched ahead into infinite black as Earth's last warlord closed his eyes for the first time in days. His final thought was as cold and sharp as his resolve. The elders warned them. Do not engage Earth. It was too late.